In today's episode of the Rust Room, we're hopefully going to achieve some stuff on the Beetle. There she is. As some of you might have seen, it's been in the background of Alex's van build videos. It's looking a bit sorry for itself. Everything seems to be a million miles away from being finished, but I'll give you a little tour around it and you can see sort of the progress I've made to date, and then hopefully we can make a bit more progress this video. So I figured we'd start at the back. Apart from the engine being removed, which has been out for quite a while, and the rear glass coming out, as you can see, it's quite the decent amount of rust along that section there. Hopefully most of it clean up with a grinder, but sort of the worst, the more you look into the rear end, the worse it sort of gets really. It's going to need a new rear apron. I'm not sure if you can buy these bits. I may have to fabricate a lip for the deck lid for the engine to sit on, and then sort of, yeah, all back here it's nice and rotten as well, which I'm sure will be a great task to repair. But you can see I've cut all the old heater channel out. A fairly substantial amount of the rear arch. Basically, I was trying to cut it back to some decent metal and ended up cutting out a lot more than I wanted to get back to some sort of half decent metal that I could potentially weld to. The other side is quite similar, but not as bad in the extent of rust removed from this side. It needs sort of tidying up and squaring up and everything, ready for new stuff to be welded in. And then moving on sort of to the front end, you can get out. We've cut sort of quite a lot of the inner arch out on both sides, just because it was all rotten and sort of MOT spec welded together. I want to cut it out and put some decent panels in, really, just so it's sort of structurally rigid. The floor pan, obviously you've all seen that, that's all been done for quite a while. And then moving on to the front is sort of where I started to make some progress until we moved units, and as you can see from where it's got transported, it's all got a bit surface rusty, so I'm going to grind it all back and then chuck a load of like weld through primer on it, and then hopefully it'll be sort of protected from some of the elements for a while. But as you can see, I've cut out the front apron, drilled out all the spot welds, removed that, and then I've started to mock up a new sort of wheel well in here. That's got some tacks on the front of it, so it's all pretty much in there. It just needs pushing down and welding into sort of place. And then the front apron has been sort of measured up and tried on a couple times, and that fits, and that needs sort of all tacking and welding on, but that'll happen in probably a later video than this one. I think the plan for this one, I've got some timber there and sort of the old little jig that I used to sit on. The plan is to try and make a jig that's wide enough for sort of both of the front wheels to go in and out of it, because we've got slightly less space in this unit than we did our previous one, but it's much nicer sort of environment. The plan is to get the body up on a jig and then have the floor pan so it can roll in and out from underneath of the Beetle. So if it's a nice day, I can sort of roll the floor pan outside, and then get on with all the mucky grinding and welding stuff without getting it all over the nice painted floor pan. And yeah, I think that's sort of where we're at the moment. So some of the panels that I've got for it at present are, I've got two heater channels from Commercial and Custom. They seem to be pretty decent quality panels. Having not fitted them yet, I can't tell you what the sort of exact fitment's like, but based on the lack of body that's left, I think it's going to be a pain whatever heater channels you pick if your Beetle's also as rusty as mine, which most of them tend to be. Got some inner arches here. These are just cheapo specials from Just Campers, I believe. Yeah, Just Campers. Got both inner arches. Accidentally, like the muppet I am, ordered 2 front aprons. So I've got 2, so if I cock one of them up, it's got 2 chances. In terms of other panels, I need to order, as you can see from here, I need to order new inner arches for the rear on both sides, and then hopefully I can patch up and make good out of what's left in there. The plan is to sit the heater channels on once all this is cleaned up, and then hopefully tack them in to where I removed the old one from, get them sort of roughly in place, get it all bolted down to the floor pan, and then try and mock up the inner arches and weld those in as well. That would be sort of the ideal situation. Once heater channels are in, I think the majority of the difficult welding will be done. That's the main sort of structure of the Beetle that needs to be welded back in. Once those are in and I've made good and connected it all up to the body, I can remove this sort of little jig that I've got in for the time being, and then we should be making pretty good progress. It will just be a case of tidying up the inner arches, welding up the front a bit, cleaning everything back, and then it'll be a case of starting to hopefully put some paint in places and make things start to look a bit more like a car, which would be nice. Also need to buy one front wing because it's properly rotten at the bottom of the front of one. And another thing I might need to consider buying is these are brand new shocks, but as you can see they're already riding the bump stop, so for the maximum lows I think I'm going to need to buy some smaller travel shocks to allow for the mad hectic dirt nasty lows, which will be nice. A couple of bits that I did forget to mention that I brought are some new A-post door pillars for both sides, left and right. They're not, if I show you, they're not too, I mean they are quite bad, but there's some there and it's still of reasonable quality, so how much of that I'll have to cut out and weld new into, I haven't quite decided. The other side's fairly similar, maybe a little bit worse, but I've got door pillars from Just Campers for both sides, so I'm hoping that once the heater channel's on the floor pan I can almost drop this in, mark it up, cut it up, and then weld it into place. New inner arch can just run straight off of that and be all welded in. What we're going to do now is build the little jig for it to sit on and hopefully get it up on the jig, and then it'll be ready to start making a mess. Done a thing. Solid as a rock, mate, isn't it?
Ballet as a rock.
Give it a little wiggle, look. Oh, primo.
Ooh.
Wow, look, rock hard.
Can't even fucking move it, mate.
It's not going anywhere, is it? That'll hold that. Lovely. What are we going to do, Alex?
Lift it up, strain, and then drop it.
Lift it up, get a hernia, and then put it back down.
I mean, it's right to there.
I mean, if we then went down like that,
Yeah, did one end.
and then, yeah. That's definitely not on there
So
where
you
it
should
should
go
go.
towards you a little bit.
That's right, just leave it, mate. Go.
Fitment, bro.
Should we try and get a front on then?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest,
How are we
I
gonna
could
lift it and move it?
I could probably stand inside it and just pick it up on my own, and then you can try and shuffle the thing in underneath.
Well, we're catching it double time.
This is just a test. Poor choice, isn't it? If it comes up, mate, try and get that under. All right, be ready. Come on. Lightweight, baby!
I think you can start me on there.
Mind the wirings is.
It's just resting on the steering column a bit there.
That's fine.
Cut something in it.
I might put some gloves on.
Yeah, that's tetanus central there, isn't it?
What are you trying to say? It's not rusty, mate. No rust. Zero rust.
Rust is lighter than carbon fibre.
Oh, fuck me, it's not easy. Hang on. Probably there, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, that's probably
There's
the
not much
strongest bit.
more structural rigidity past that point. Nailed it! Right, so, as you can see, it's on my sketchy ass little jig thing that I've chucked together for now. But it's up and off, and the floor pan's underneath, so nice shiny boy under there.
Excellent. Oh, you just went through a real metal there.
The front looks suspiciously on the wibbly wonk a little bit, but look at that, made built to last. That.
Just us lifting that up there, one weight, it was a...
No deal. Yeah, no, it wasn't very heavy at all, was it? Right, so what I'm going to do now is put the heater channels onto the floor pan. So that's the underside of the heater channel there. I'm going to run a tap and dive through all the nuts and also through the holes on the heater channels just to make sure it's all ready to go. Then I'm going to mock it up onto the floor pan, and then once I've cleaned up all of these sort of shitty edges and covered them in weld through primer, I'll then lower the body back onto it, and hopefully with a bit of luck be able to put some tacks into the heater channels ready to weld the rest of it in. Right, so I'm in the process of test fitting this heater channel, and I've got sort of around to about here with fitting the bolts in, I think. Yeah, is the last bolt could get in, but it looks like it's just, hopefully you can see that, it looks like it's just touching on the seat rail. So what I'm going to do is just grind sort of a little bit out, not too much, just a little bit out, so that I can line the rest of the holes up down here, and then hopefully will fit and screw together. Right, so the heater channel's now in and all bolted up. I had to do the little grind there to get it to fit past the seat rail, and then there's a bolt under here where I had to grind the hole out ever so slightly just to make it all line up, but it all fits pretty well. It's all put on there nice and sturdy now. On to the next side. So I'm just having a look at actually, it's probably worth showing you. I got both heater channels all bolted in. I had to do a similar thing to this one where I ground a little bit out just here, just to miss the seat runner. But that's all in and as strong as it can be. I was just having a look at some of these A-post door pillar panels that I got, and as you can see, that one's got three holes. That one's got 4 holes. The car is the 3-hole version because there's only 3 holes in the door hinges, but I mean these are getting put in now. All I'll need to do on the driver's side door, which will give it a bit more rigidity anyway with another bolt for it, stop it slipping and sliding and dropping down, is literally just drill through the thick bracket on the door, and then I can just stick another bolt through and then it'll be fine. And that side will just have 3 because it won't get used as much anyway, so it doesn't matter. And looking at this, to be fair, if I stick this panel on where it goes there, and get this the right way around first, so that sits on there like that, and that one sits sort of just over the top. That there, that should all fit pretty nicely, to be honest. And then this little lip here on this A-pillar just basically gets bent round to replicate that sort of seal there. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, that should be alright. I'm just sort of debating where to cut it out. I think I'm going to cut up beyond sort of here and then cut some more of that out, almost to the point where I've cut probably not quite enough out, and then I can trim it back, but I'll get a nice straight edge cut right the way around on all of that on both sides, and then try and use as much of the new metal as possible, I think, because it's going to be better in it to do that. Lots of grinding to do, I think. Lots and lots of grinding. Right, so I'm going to fit some new CV boots because these ones are absolutely knackered, and also some new gearbox mounts. Look at them crusty boys. Absolutely knackered they are. So that's the plan. New CV boots I've got them from Commercial and Custom. They're like the bolt up jobbies, so you don't have to take drive shafts and things out. And then I've got genuine Volkswagen Audi Group. Right, so that's the boot on. Wasn't too bad. These clips here are a bit of a pain in the arse to squeeze, especially if you've got a slightly subpar tool like I do. I've clocked it at sort of similar degrees to the other one, maybe a little bit less on this side. But yeah, that'll send as it is. See what happens. I'm not sure if it will leak. I think it's more just to prevent the ingress of dust, so I'm hoping it should be okay. Pardon Alex over there. Big burper. He's a big burper. Now I'm going to try and fix these squished old Ming & mounts there with my new ones. So hopefully that goes well. Time-lapse city. Right, so I've taken off these 27mm bolts that hold on the support for the rear of the gearbox. As you can see, these mounts really are very knackered. Definitely need to do a change. Where they've got so much oil in them as well, they're really squishy and just like absolutely minging, so definitely time for a change. So this is like the supporting bracket for the mounts for the gearbox, so that's, I'll just give that a quick wipe over and then stick the new mounts back in. Lovely jobby.
So we're going to leave it here at that episode. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Obviously leave a comment as well if you're enjoying the videos. And make sure you check out our social media as well at The Rust Room on Instagram and Facebook.
Whoa, what's that?
Nigga, you been busted.
Yeah, man.
But I ain't got no fucking time to play with you.
I don't know if that's actually doing a time lapse or whether it's doing a record.